Today is Tuesday, June 22nd, 2021, approximately 10 o'clock a.m. Continuing on as scheduled with the special committees, oversight and informational hearing on OGM-SC. We do have the respondent, office representative here, the Minister, Mr. Cabrera, with us today. Also, I recognize Ms. Annie Shai from the Governor's Office. Welcome. And Ms. Yvette Gone from Substance Abuse. Welcome to the Senate Chamber. And I apologize for the rest of the names. I don't want to say it, and I'm gonna miss the, but I'll let Mr. Cabrera introduce you accordingly. So with that, we are in order, and adoption of agenda. This segment of I would like to recognize Senator Salam to adopt today's meeting agenda. Motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. And at this moment, I'd like to offer a motion to adopt today's meeting agenda, Tuesday, June 22nd, 2021. So moved.
Before entertain adoption, for the record, we do have the full board of the special committee. To my left is Senator Venus Blunt, to my right is Senator Victor Hokut, and to his right is Senator Cruz, and my name is Jude Hofschneider, I chair this special committee. So the adoption call is in order, and it's been seconded. All those in favor of the motion to adopt today's meeting agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. The agenda for today's meeting is hereby adopted. Item number 3, public comments. This is the portion of our meeting where we allow members of the public who are here today in the gallery to provide testimony or comments on any of the items before us. There being none, let the record reflect. Item number 4, witness oath, and the chair requests all the respondents to please stand. And I recognize Ms. Jolene Tugwell to administer the oath.
Please raise your right hand. You do solemnly swear under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you shall give in the matter at hand shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes.
Thank you.
This is my seat, everyone. Thank you, Jolene. Item number 4, this oath of branch management, state clearinghouse. The chair now wishes to recognize Administrator Cabrera. And Mr. Cabrera, for your opening statement, can you please introduce the people that are with you today?
Good morning and thank you. To my left is Ms. Dana Caldwell, Grant Specialist. To my right is Ezra Lizama, Grant Specialist. And to his right is Frankie F. Angel, Grant Specialist.
Thank you, Mr. Cabrera. And without further delay, can you just go ahead and answer or present to the committee, to the viewing public, the items as indicated in the order of business today, whichever appropriate and whatever that is necessary for this committee to hear from your end. Continue.
Thank you. In terms of the budget and scope of operations for OGM, the total budget for personnel right now is standing at approximately $450,583. This is to serve using 10 members, one on Rhoda, one on Tinian, and the rest on Saipan, 8. In regards to the indirect cost revenue or reimbursement, the total indirect costs received by from our office by the state amounts to $1.658 million in total indirect cost revenue to the 1043 account. There are approximately 25 business units under the sub-grant section, and that is the total that we are talking about, the $1.658 million. Of that, the current balance, given all the positive and negative charges within the sub-granting section, we have a total balance of negative $1,394.49. This is only because certain charges came in just recently that drew a negative to our account that we weren't expecting at that point in time. But we will address that negative in the near future. It's only a negative of $1,394.49. So the total amount of money over the past 5 years received by the office in terms of indirect costs has accumulated to $3,695,755.99. On average, as mentioned in the past, that's approximately about $755,000 to $800,000 a year to operate the office. Given that about 450,000 is for salaries, that means the leftover on average is about 325,000 a year for the operations and for sub-grant. We do have a list of all the agencies that we have assisted with the sub-grants. And as mentioned, there are 25 business units in the CNMI JD Edwards system that holds these transactions in place for our office. Other than that, that's a summary of the indirect costs and our scope of operation in terms of our budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cabrera, and thank you for your response to as far as the A. You're alluding to the A to E, right? You can summarize all the. I'm talking about the agenda.
Yes.
Okay. So at this time, I recognize Senator Bibi Sablan to pose his question.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Administrator Cabrera, for the information in regards to the budget and scope of operations, which is in compliance with Section 3, subsection 2891 of Public Law 19-49, which states that the office's composition and operating budget shall be determined by a percentage of the collected indirect cost charges. You mentioned the 25 business units. Are you expenditure authority for all 25 business units, which the sub-grant amounts and the indirect cost amounts get housing?
Yes, that's correct.
And then you also did mention that on the sub-grants, when you do provide for sub-grants to different entities, you mentioned that there was a negative balance, right? Negative 1,394. So that means that at times it gets overrun by these different entities, correct?
Yes, it's specifically for salaries.
Okay, I just wanted to ask that so we can kind of maybe make some adjustments on our set amendments, to the law, so that we can provide for more accurate accounting on that. I think it's vital that the overruns kind of stop, and if an entity is given a certain amount, say 25,000, that 25,000 is within. So I just wanted to kind of get a keen understanding on that. So from the IDC, you use about 450K for personnel, and then the rest could go to the sub-grants, correct? And any other needs of the operations of the office.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so okay, that's it, Mr. President. Thank you.
Mrs. Masi, Senator Sablan. I recognize Senator Bikoku.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Cabrera, I just want to follow up Senator Vinny's issue on the resulting the negative of $1.6+ million. Is this from the sub-grant account?
Sir, the 1.6 million is the cumulative total of all the sub-grants provided. The negative $1,394 is the balance in the account.
Okay, so the balance of 1,300, right? That's oh no, sorry. The balance of the total amount from the sub-grant of 1,000 plus.
Yes.
How is that come about? Is that overrun is on salary or operation for other than salary?
Thank you for your questions. We have one sub-grant that we gave a maximum amount of money that can be drawn or used, expended. However, because it's a salary-based sub-grant, there's practically almost no way for us to stop it because that should be on the part of finance to the division of finance of and accounting to stop that charge. But it made an overrun, and we are trying our best to address that concern immediately, and hopefully the charges will be reversed by next week.
Oh, okay. That's good that you mentioned that the charges will be reversed, because one of my following question is based on your statement that you will address the negative in the near future. And I was about also to ask you how late or how early we can address the negative, but you just mentioned hopefully next week. Now, I guess what the statement of Senator Vinny, it is obvious that we need to amend the law to ensure that this will not happen again in the coming days. And the reason why, Mr. Carrera, it's important that we note to stop any entity to allow to be overrun under the sub-grant. And how many of these entities benefit from the overrun of the sub-grant from your office?
We are referring to about 1 to 2 entities, but more specifically just one for now that drew up the negative.
So we don't make any control in stopping to incur negative, then other department, other agency will also avail, and that will add up to a substantial sum at the closing date of your sub-grant opportunity, right?
Yes, sir.
Unless you can find more money to take care of this every time an entity overrun its account.
We will look for more money to address that.
But I guess we should take note that your office and the Secretary of Finance or whoever it is controlling the or is doing the overrun, I think your office should meet with that department to ensure that when an overrun is going to be committed, that your office know, or you should know how long you're going to address the overrun. And I understand the overrun is a result for payroll. I believe so, right?
Yes, sir.
And it's really hard if one of the employee from that particular office that is being funded under the sub-grant will not receive his paycheck, correct?
Correct.
So it's just a matter of meeting with the Secretary of Finance and try to control this. And in the event that an entity or an agency is going to commit an overrun, that you should know when it's going to be restored back. Otherwise, it will continue to add up more negative in your account. Okay. Now, you mentioned early that there's about $800,000 out of the 3.6 million that you have realized for sub-grant. Is that correct?
800,000 is the
Or is that the 800,000 is the cumulative amount from 5 years ago?
it's the average for the 5 years.
Oh, that's an average
Yes, sir.
for sub-grant.
It's the average of the total
Grant.
money that the office receives.
And
From
this
the
800,000 this 100,000 is dedicated as a sub-grant and for your office operation.
The average sub-grant per year is about 325 to 350,000. But that's, don't forget that we have to include operations. So technically, it can average out, or it can fluctuate over time or a given year.
I thought you mentioned, unless I didn't hear correctly, I thought you mentioned that you have realized 800,000 per year in the sub-grant, for the sub-grant account, for that business unit.
So after we set aside money for salaries, and then operations, the leftover can be used for sub-grant. But by law, it's pegged at 20%, at 20%.
So out of this amount, 150,000 is going for operation.
That's just salaries for
Salaries,
personnel.
salaries, yeah.
Yes.
And the remaining balance per year is for operation and other sub-grant applicants.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So as we sit here today, this morning, your office only have 1,300 some deficit.
Yes, sir. In the sub-grant.
And it's under the sub-grant account.
Yes.
Are we expecting more deficit by the end of the quarter?
No, sir, because we will correct and get the reverse charges. We will reverse the charge.
And where are you gonna get the reverse charges to satisfy the deficit of this amount?
We will go to the entity that had the negative charge, and they would have to figure out how to reverse the charge with us. Or we can seek help from the administration to cover the negative shortfall.
I think that would suffice the finding of this, but if you're gonna go back to the entity that experiencing this deficit, that's why they are deficit, because they don't have money.
That's true.
So I guess you have to work this out with the Secretary of Finance. Where to get some of the seats to plan back to the sub-grant account.
Yes, sir.
And when I will be expecting your answer by the next meeting, whether this deficit has been satisfied.
Okay.
Is that fair? No.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Cabrera. I yield, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Master Chairman Hoko. The chair wishes to Senator Cruz. Recognize Senator Cruz.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Cabrera, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
On sub-grant, who qualifies for sub-grant and how do you qualify them?
Thank you for your question. Government entities and nonprofits are able to apply for sub-grants. Based on their needs and the merit of their needs, our office reviews those applications and formally decides if we have enough money to sub-grant that item out to help that agency or that nonprofit.
Thank you. That's good. So that in other words, if an agency applies subsidy for their operation or even for equipment, you assist them if there is a funding available under
Yes.
sub-grant account.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now under sub-grant, I see that you assisted Tinian and Rhoda in terms of vehicle at a 22,600. Do you have that copy with you? Under IDC sub-grant.
We assisted with the Tinian tractor on their 1043C account.
This is vehicle at a 22,600. I just wanted to know clarification on this. Is this 22,600 each or a total of 22,600 for both Tinian and Rhoda?
wanted to clarify the amount, whether this is correct, because is this too big you're talking about? At a 22,000 something?
Sir, I apologize, but I don't know which account you're talking about.
Just to make sure that's a correct number. Under IDC sub-grant, there is a Tinian/Rhoda, 22,600. Is that correct? Well, that's supposed to be like 22,600 each. If you don't have the answer today, you can come back and give me that information. Just to be sure that this is not 22,000 for two people, because I don't see how we can come up with 22,000 with 600 for two people.
Okay, this is from the CCR. Thank you, sir. Now I remember, this 22,600 is for a vehicle for the future that we're gonna get.
So this is not
It's in
granted
progress.
yet.
This is in progress.
Okay, so this is 22,600 for each island
That's
for Tinian and Rhoda, or
that's just the total that we
the total?
can give.
The total 22,000?
So basically, that's just one vehicle that we can provide to Tinian or Rhoda.
One vehicle?
Unless we get more money.
Is this for what vehicle is this? Is for the island of Tinian or to be utilized here inside?
No, it's for Tinian or Rhoda.
At a 22,000
Yeah, it can be like a sedan or a smaller SUV.
Yeah, I know, but this is just one vehicle.
Yes, for now, unless we find more money to assist.
So can we put in the future separate the two, because it's confusing to have that together.
Okay,
It's
sir.
only 22,600.
Okay, sir. We will correct that.
Okay, and the reason why I mentioned about the who qualifies and how do you go about to qualify them, because I understand that some autonomous agency declined to be assisted under your office. That's correct.
Yes.
So I know that losing money or opportunity to avail to the grant, if it's offered per year, and some autonomous refuse to be assisted, do you think that under Public Law 1949 should be amended so that those autonomous that refuse or decline to be assisted at the office should be included in this 1949 instead of excluded to be assisted under your office, so that we will not fail to avail to that grant?
Thank you, sir, for your question. I believe that every government agency should try their best to try and avail of any grants they can, regardless if it's a regular grant or sub-grant or competitive grant. Every agency should make the effort to try and get more money into their agency.
I understand that. But do you believe that under this Public 1949, that exclude some autonomous agency to be assisted under your office, you think instead of losing the opportunity every year, you think should be included so that will be guided under your office so that we can, avail to that? I understand that the responsibility, but my point is, if they continue to fail to avail to that, federal funds, do you believe that should be excluded or included in the 1949 to assist under your office?
Thank you, sir. I believe that certain agencies should be included so that more grants can be availed to that agency. and to help better the community with those grants.
And thank you for, your effort to extend your assistant, your office assistant to other agencies that really need the funding, especially to avail to federal funds. And I continue to ask that your office continue to look into those that are failing to proceed forward and avail to those funding. I ask that you help them, guide them into how we can avail to those funds. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Blassi, Senator Cruz. Any recognize again, Senator Bean?
Thank you, President. And just to follow on Senator Cruz's comments, Mr. Cabrera, I know there are some agencies that are excluded from the implementation and management or the initiation of these federal grants. And then, of course, as discussed, there are some agencies that choose not to, or they choose to just go ahead and take on the task themselves. And this is aside from the agencies that are listed, that are exempted in Public Law 1949. But maybe just to cover your tracks, the law, Public Law 1949 on Section 4, subsection 2892 I, it states that to identify all grants that the CNMI is eligible to receive but has not applied for, and to determine whether the CNMI should submit a future application. And I know that in our discussions, you have been identifying that there are additional funds or funds in general that these entities can apply for. So with that, just to kind of maybe, when you identify those grants that are available for these certain entities, maybe it'll be good to send communications to them and just say that according to Public Law 1949, subsection, 28, subsection 2892 of Section 4I, the Grants Office is mandated to seek, identify funds, and these are the grants we've identified, and we recommend that you apply for them. Just so that it states that you've identified it already. If they don't apply for it, then that's on them. But at least it covers your ground, and it covers the requirement under this subsection of Public Law 1949. Because as discussed, there are some of the agencies that they're more comfortable operating on their own and initiating their own grants. But in the case that you find and you identify additional grants that is available for their agency, that you have some sort of structure to send them, an email or so, just so you cover tracks and just say to this entity, based on the law, we are mandated to identify some grants, and these are the grants we identified that could assist your agency, and we recommend that you apply for them. If they do, they do. If they don't, then at least you kind of went ahead and gave them that, right? So you have that trail already. So no one can come back, or if they do come back and ask for your assistance, at least you can go back to there and say, we sent you an email or a correspondence on January 30 that stated you have these grants that are available, but nothing was availed of. So at least you have that, and then it's in the law. So there's identification, and I know that your staff and yourself have been identifying those grants that are available that could assist, right? And so I just wanted to kind of state that so that the structure can be more effective and accurate. One last question, Mr. President. So the indirect cost is negotiated, right?
Yes.
By you and the federal grantor. Is that per grant, or is that an annual negotiation is it negotiated per grant submission?
No, sir. That one single proposal is for the entire CNMI government, not including autonomous agencies.
Okay, so it's negotiated Because it says here that it's negotiated between you and the grantor. So is it like there's a certain time within the year that it's negotiated, or you've already did that and it's a set?
Actually, it's, we negotiate between May, June, and we can start at April, but we haven't started for FY 22 yet. So it's always, we're trying to do it ahead so that the agencies can prepare for planning purposes for next fiscal year.
Okay, so the indirect cost percentage negotiated by yourself and the federal grantors may change each year, right?
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to kind of state that for the record so that we know because your
It's-
office is operating out of.
It is a
indirect
formula,
costs.
it's a formula base. It's not we don't just arbitrarily just give a number out of the blue. There's a mathematical formula for taking into account 200 pages of items and then it boils down to two numbers. So.
Okay, so that's good. That's good information to be communicated to the legislature so that we know. And of course, when budget season comes along, at least we know what the percentage of negotiations were and stuff like that. But I just wanted to kind of ask that for the record. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Floyer. James Bond. The chair would like to pose this question. With respect to the timelines and time sensitivity, as you mentioned earlier, there are some deadlines to be met. Can you articulate to or share with the members on both program, TAP and MAP? What are the important dates for the purpose of the agencies that are working with you or the people that are potentially will be working with your office? Can you enlighten us? What are the specifics of during the course of the calendar year or fiscal year on MAPs and TAPs?
Yes, sir. Typically, the TAP and MAP grants are open October 1 of the beginning of the fiscal year. However, the grant proposals are submitted, they're due on about April 1st, and sometimes it changes depending on what's going on in at DC. Sometimes they've moved up the deadline to as much as June or like June 15. The EIC grants, the Energizing Insular Communities, is due June 30th, which is in a few days from now. We also have the Coral Reef Initiative grant, which is also due around the same time as the TAP and MAP grants.
The reason why I asked the TAP and the MAP because that's what you.
Okay.
I'm running with your
Yes.
citizen-centric report.
Yes.
So can we just in that part? And I am assuming that. I'm hoping that in your next citizen-centric report to the community and your report to the legislature is you include all those other items that you are tapping into or you're working directly under your office. Continue.
Yes. So in regards to like the responses to the TAP and MAP, usually we should receive something soon, like in the next week or two. I'm talking about the results of the TAP.
So I submitted October 2nd last year. I'm gonna get the result in June.
If they submit, it depends, sir. Depending on the severity of the situation, like on the ground, like for example, the CRB, the coconut rhino beetle, it was submitted in October, but they know that OIA believes that it's so critical that we get action on the ground as soon as possible. So they award the grant sometimes in 1 to 2 weeks, depending on the need, the severity of the. Other than that, all general grants are all for OIA and are due on April 1st.
Okay. Yeah. So if I apply for MAP and I really need this because I'm shortfall with the general fund, what do I get from you, from your office, or who do I get a notification whether or not I'm going to get it? How do I know?
Usually, as mentioned in the past, we usually just get a a formal letter from OIA saying, these are the grants you get awarded. And then we communicate that to the PIO, the administration, and then they put it out in the newspaper.
Okay,
But we also inform the agencies because we have to do the business unit, to settle the business unit with them that they got awarded.
Okay, and I'm gonna concentrate more on the maintenance assistance program. Do you get most of that? Do you work on that a lot, or, I mean, this is a direct grant, right? It's a formula grant, or is it a competitive?
It's a competitive grant.
Okay, well, so how do I compete to win with this one? Say, for example, I'm overwhelmed with grass. I don't have general fund to buy a mower. How can Mr. Cabrera and OGMSC assist? Whether I'm gonna buy a Roundup, or I'm gonna hire extra people, or I'm gonna buy a tractor mower. How do we strike a conversation to do this?
Okay, we put together the grant proposal, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Of course, we try our best to try and figure out a way to try and win the grant as much as we can. Whether or not your grant proposal is competing against a stormwater drain vacuum machine, that's more expensive, that's not up to me to decide, because that's the federal government to decide. We just try our best to submit what we can to get the items on island.
Advocate.
Yeah, we advocate for the best for the Sinomai.
Okay, so in the case of being awarded, is it safe to say then that that's where you get the 40%, 20% and all that under that award, or is that directly goes to the procurement of such service?
You're talking about indirect costs?
Yes.
I just want to clarify one thing for the record. The Sinomai government does not collect indirect costs off of heavy equipment, furniture, benefits, and pass-throughs. So even
What's a
if
pass-through?
a pass-through is like a benefit, like food stamp, childcare.
Okay, I got it. So, moving forward, in your citizen-centric report, I keep seeing, which is great. We appreciate it. Scholarship and grants. What's a scholarship? In this case, in this reference.
In that reference, I just use the sub-account that finance accounting provides to me to use. So basically, it's just saying it's a sub-grant.
Okay, may I request something for the benefit of consistency? Whether or not finance provided, I think it's important that we make it clear. Because when you say scholarship here and you're looking at 1.4, maybe Shifa needs it, and they're gonna say, Mr. Cabrera, why I'm not getting from the 1.4, maybe the municipality of Rota or Tina. Okay. So when you put in your report like this, it makes us believe that you're providing scholarship for students, and which is a good thing, maybe, but I don't know if it has any bearing with your, you know what I mean, right?
Yes.
So can you correct that?
We will make that distinction in the future.
There you go.
Okay.
Thank you. It's evident that there are some you need to revisit some of these provisions of the 1949. And also, we made mention in the previous couple of days that there may be some protocol adjustments that you need to improve under your watch. I'm going to ask this, I think I asked this in the past, but because of putting this all together, all these efforts that you're putting under your office, how many employees, based on law and position titles, do you need to operate at a full capacity? And how much new federal grants would your office or OGM generate for the CNMI in terms of when you realize this? Just remember that the legislature will be passing again a budget, no? And I know that we've trimmed down your request to be subsidized by general fund simply because the general fund was having issues too. But we would like to think that based on your report, you've been very successful in terms of providing and services, whether it's MAP or TAP, you've been very successful in doing such based on the report that you provided the community. So going back to my question, realistically speaking, how many and how do you think we can improve the communications and the working relationship to the agencies that you're servicing, the municipality that you're helping, or whatever it is that is allowed under your authority?
Thank you. In all honesty, I think we need at least an additional 20 member staff in order to fully comply with the law and in order to effectively deliver services to the government agencies and to the people. I have a saying that for every staff member we have, they will need to bring at least $1 million a year to the Sinumay government. So an additional 20 staff would equate to $20 million annually, new money, not just new federal funding annually, which is a great help to the Sinumay government. So we just need the technical staff more, the support in order to get that going. And we have done that in the past. With the 10, 9, sometimes 8 people, we've managed to bring in at least $10 million a year to stay with that $1 million per person per year.
Okay, and I'll ask this last question before I yield to the other members. Do you feel that despite 1949, that we may be working in silos all the time to try and get as much money down the tubes here for our benefits?
In fairness, a lot of the agencies do work like in silos. They become very territorial with their grants. I mean, they all want to keep their money to themselves. But I think we need to work with each other to try and spread that, as long as it meets the terms and conditions of the grant or with the sub-grant. But we're all here for the Sinumay government, so we should all work together.
Thank you, Mr. Cabrera. I'm going to yield to other members if they still have questions. Sir, Chairman Hope.
Yeah, Mr. Cabrera, how do we change the mentality from territorial mentality to popular mentality with their grant? Do you have any recommendation that we can look into?
I believe it starts with training and more awareness. We are trying our best to provide more training. And with Ezra and the team, we are providing training in October to get more grants in. And we will try and change the culture. The culture of grants is changing. More people, more agencies are applying for grants, and that's a good thing. Over the time that they're seeing that they can, and that's the best thing that I can say. They're trying to get more money here. Thank you.
Okay, so against with your request of 20 FTE, that should be sufficient for your office to really reach out for more grant opportunity in the years to come, right?
Yes, sir.
And you make mention that if you have this 20 FTE, the challenge of each FTE that you're gonna get is $1 million per year.
Yes, sir.
Now, and this is not including you on the 20 FTE.
No.
Okay. So let me ask you, with this 20 FTE, under the assumption to secure at least $1 million, what would be your take on your part? How much you can bring in aside from this 20 FTE?
On just my part?
On your part?
Alone?
Alone.
Maybe 5 mil.
So how many more FTEs that have that incentive like you to bring us 5 mil a year, aside from the 1 million per each FTE on a regular staff?
I mean, if you think about it, sometimes the same amount of effort can go into getting a $10,000 grant versus a $500,000 grant. So we have the options. The playing field is different for every grant. So my expectation is at least 1 million per staff, and they all know they're supposed to work to that goal.
Okay, I agree with that, and I like the idea of giving your office, supporting your office with an FTE, not only to get the 20 million, but to ensure that they work with the agency and department to secure their needs when it comes to applying for sub-grant.
Yes.
And avoid the multitasking of each of your worker, because that's how the concern of other municipalities, that you started their request and then it was put on the table because of the multitasking from the staff. Is that correct? No?
That's correct.
So by allowing you to have this 20 FTE, that will eliminate the multitasking.
It'll hopefully reduce the multitasking. It'll reduce significantly
Okay, so
multitasking.
with this, okay, I agree with you on that. Now, on this competitive grant, does the department allow by your office to also work on a competitive grant? Or you undertake the responsibility to submit competitive grants?
As much as possible over the years that we've been in OGM, there are only a few competitive grants that have gone up. Most of the competitive grants get written up by our office. A lot of the grants the Sinumay government undertakes are formula, block grants, standardized grants. So we are trying our best to get more competitive grants.
Okay, so any department or agency that submit, the regular grants, clearance must be acknowledged from your office before they even submit that.
That's per the law, but many of the agencies have been comfortable submitting their grants on their own because they have their own access points to upload those grants into those portals. We only get the reports at the end. However, if an agency requires a clearance for EO 12372, our office provides that clearance in order to satisfy the terms of the grant, the request or the documents required to submit that grant for upload.
So it is not correct that every grant a department or an agency avail to must get clearance from your office before they submit their grant?
Per the law, a clearinghouse should act like that, should serve like that, should serve. But given sometimes these agencies need to submit grants like in 2 hours before it's the deadline. 2 hours to give a clearance. Sometimes it's very difficult for that. We do provide them like a notice, like, hey, you have to give us at least 1 week. But some are still hesitant. They're like working around the clock. They have other things to do. They're also multitasking. So they have their hands filled too, but they're trying their best in order to get their grant up. And we don't want to impede or stop them from uploading any grant that can help the government work more effectively.
I just want to make sure that what I've been hearing, that a submission for grant application must be clear from you. And anything that is not clear from you will not get support for such grant. Is that correct?
Not necessarily.
I'm asking this question, I just want to make sure that they are telling us the truth or not. But if the law requires your job, man, to make this clearinghouse, I think we should consistently have either annual or semi-annual training for all these agencies so that they understand the nature of your office.
Yes, sir.
No, rather than mixing up, Like, I don't know if they really know the deadline or the startup of trying to get a grant or what grant to avail. I don't know if they are truly aware of the beginning of when to submit and the deadline of the submittal. And 2 hours to submit the grant proposal isn't in that little bit, in a rush that you might not get what you seek for. Most of the time, right, they will not get what they want, submitting it 2 hours before the deadline without further review. So in order to avoid that in the future, then it is good that your office put up a schedule, for training and all the procedure of submitting grant and the expectation of the deadline. So, your office should be in service with the agency and not develop any conflict, you know? And that's what we're asking is the more we put together our head with the agency in your office, the more we can realize the benefit of doing this. So,
Thank you.
I have other question, but I'll reserve this, Mr. Chair, to the last day. And I know it's not a critical question, but just want to need clarity, but not at this point of the hearing. Maybe on our next schedule. I don't know, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you, John Hoko. Any other Senator Cruz?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Chair. Again, all those awarded grants, either municipality or agency, I ask that you guys move forward with that expeditiously because those are very important that we should start doing, whether meeting with regulatory to proceed forward. Please, I ask that you continue to do that so that either agency or municipality is not going to come to us and ask us for assistance. Rather, going through you guys, and at least the communication is very important in regards to all those awarded grants. So I have no further questions, Mr. President. Thank you.
This was Chairman Cruz. Before I pose my question, Sarge, can you hand this to Administrator Cabrera, please? Yeah, no, we'll take a 5-minute recess now while Mr. Cabrera gets a chance to read through the document, please. thoughts. Mr. Cabrera, before I recognize you to respond to it if you wish, I, we need to be reminded all the time that, with the separation of three, maybe four different islands, constitutionally, the mayors of the respective island is sort of the father of that whole island, similar to the governor, right? But the mayors of their respective island are responsible from A to Z. And with the limited resources that we experience on the respective island municipalities, there are often times that the level of frustration and stress is nothing compared to what we go as a line agency. So it's not a line agency, it's a constitutionally created, publicly elected office. So when they do requests and they do sign requests, it's very important that we take them very seriously and give them the utmost respect to that office. So because of some of the concerns of 1949, we've been discussing over the last several days, that gave rise to that proposed legislation, and that attempts to make it clear that everything that comes from the municipality, as far as the grants itself, it's the need, it's the plight, the need of that community. It's not a luxury, it's a need. There's a compelling interest because of the fact that we are challenged general fund wise, and that also preempts them to submit that request through the proper platform or portal. So before I turn the mic over to you, recognize Senator Vico.
Well, in line of the President's statement regarding the constitutional mandate or created by our Constitution, the local government, or on the executive function. I know that your office, your immediate supervisor is the governor, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that's under Public Law 1943. 1949? Yeah. So in the executive function, when the governor delegates, is saying that the governor may delegate to the respective mayor executive function. So if the governor delegate the mayor from the respective municipalities, that means that they deserve also the understanding to concur whatever it is that deals within their municipality. And unless the governor do not delegate any authority to execute executive function, then that's totally different. But I am pretty confident that the governor have delegated those executive functions to the respective mayor's office, which makes them also privileged to look and concur the OGM grant that is being executed. So just to make that note also in line of the President's statement. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Cabrera, would you like to, you have an opportunity, I'll give you the opportunity to respond to that inquiry.
Thank you. I have a few questions that I need clarification on. It says here, accordingly, the purpose of this legislation is to authorize the respective mayors of the first and second senatorial districts to concur on all GMSC applications, programs, and funding for the first and second senatorial districts. Can you elaborate on what sort of funding per se, or are you referring to? Is whether or not this is a sub grant or just regular grant?
In this case, the intent is when a grant proposal is submitted to your office, that encompasses whether grant, sub-grant, or whatever grants that is being applied by the respective senatorial district. And again, that's a proposal that it's before the Senate. And the reason why I ask you to review it, because as indicated before, we're gonna have potential amendments to 1949.
Yes.
And that will be included. And we need your recommendations or your endorsement as far as the languages of those. So that the respective mayors can have, as what Senator Victor Hoku was saying earlier, the authority, executive authority, administrative authority, and all that, other functions that will divest to them, so that there's more oversight and also more authority given to those mayors with regards to their grants that they're applying.
Okay.
You can, it's a proposal, you feel free to make it detailed if you wish. It's gonna be your watch, and you're gonna be responding to the respective, if it comes law, with respective mayors in regards to that. To make it more seamless, if I may, because of occurrences that's been happening, absent protocols, SOPs and all. That gave rise to that
Okay.
proposal.
Can I just suggest, how about the Northern Islands mayor? Maybe that, because in the future, the expansion of the north would also bring about.
You're reading our minds.
Okay, sorry.
Make a recommendation.
Okay.
Is there anything else in there that you?
Well, I need more time to take a look into it.
Yes, and that's one component of the proposed amendment. But I couldn't help but to always remind you that, and remind your staff that when the mayor requests assistance, take it very seriously, because they're dealing with a whole new challenges, a new community, another community separate from where we're at today. So, but I'm glad that you call in and you offer your 2 cents regarding that. Is there anything else you wanna share to this committee before we break?
No, I'm fine, I'm good.
Any of your staff, would you like to?
We're okay.
You empower them to participate in this platform, so I think this committee deserves some pointers from them too. Is there anything that they would like to suggest? Especially Mr. Angel, you've been in the agency long enough. What is your observation with regards to this platform? Given all the concerns that were raised before would you like to share a statement or two on how to better the response to the applicants?
Okay, I guess so far from what I'm hearing, I think we're moving in the right direction. I think it's important that we have, this communication, and I guess, compromising with everyone, and yeah, I mean, creating this, working session in a sense to, I guess, improve what we already have, and our system, our law, the structure is not perfect, but there's ways to improve, and it would really help. On another note, I just want to make note that I want to retract my statements from the previous hearings. From the initial
Mr. Angel,
hearings.
may I interject? I'm going to go on recess.
Okay.
Short recess.
thank each and every one of you for, listening to our end of the story, and hopefully we can continue working together to make more improvements. Thank you.
Mr. Masi, Mr. Angel, any other in the panel? Okay. I think Senator Hope would like to pose a question.
Dana, when did you move to Saipan?
I moved in February 2021, so just this year.
But you used to do this job in Rhoda for the municipality, no?
Yes.
So how do you find your new office here as compared to Rhoda?
It's a lot, I would say, busier in a sense, just because I'm here working with multiple more people now, and more projects have been assigned to me. So it's a lot more multitasking, but same on Rhoda, with working with the other local departments on Rhoda, and the mayor as well.
So I assume you really enjoy your job today with here in the main office, no?
Yeah, yes.
But you need more work, or?
I don't know about more work, but I'm always learning on the job and following my boss's lead, and so I've learned a lot since I started this job, both working on Rhoda and here as well in Saipan.
I'm very glad that you are brought over here to really face the more difficult challenge here. And that one day, if this office got or gets their necessary manpower, that perhaps you're willing to move back to Rhoda to really work on a more stronger grand opportunity for our municipality, right?
Yes, I do. I do miss Rhoda. Yeah.
Okay. So do you, if this opportunity comes your way, are you willing to go back and?
If I'm assigned that, and if my boss needs it, and it's in the best interest of Rhoda and the Sinamai, I'd be willing to.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and I'm glad to hear that. Thank you, Dana, and welcome again. And welcome aboard the difficult task that you have here in the central government.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Senator Hope. So that brings us to the wrapping up for this morning session. For the purpose of consistency, we do have agencies that are coming in to provide some testimony with regards to the way the lay of the land with regards to the state clearinghouse and how they interact based on law. I do also want to encourage not only you, Mr. Cabrera, but the staff, your strong support staff, to really look at Public Law 1949 and assist Mr. Cabrera in the systemic change that we need to, whether or not executing for SOP or making suggestions for potential legislative fix as a result of this meetings. With no further comments from the members, the meeting this morning, Tuesday, June 22nd, 2021, stands on recess until 1:30 as scheduled this afternoon. Thank you and have a great lunch.